Hello there, crafty doer. Jessica Michaels here with the weekly project post. For this week's project, I created a card using 3 techniques that I absolutely love playing with the most in my craft room. I created my own background for this card, added a few little details with a few mediums, and I used my handy dandy sewing machine. Stick around to see how you too can get these stunning results. Please subscribe to my channel for more content like this and hit the notification bell so you don't miss content like this. Here's how I went. To begin the process of this gorgeous background, I use technique number 1 that I love playing with the most in my craft room, which is ink smooshing. So ink smooshing is just that. You smoosh the ink. I like to use Tim Holtz media mat, which is textured. So it helps create all these little spots and speckles and puddles that you see over on the side. But what you do is you smoosh the ink pad into it and you spray some water and you lift it up with your cardstock. And this is the beautiful result that you get. Now, when you have little puddles like that, you can easily just remove it with a cloth. But the key to this background is layers and drying in between those layers. Now, my goal for the first couple of layers is to pick up as much ink as I can, but let it really just swim all around the cardstock and cover it as much as I can. To do that, you really have to add a lot of water to it. And then you also have to press down firmly to smoosh the puddles and the speckles all over the card. That was the first few layers. Then I start just picking up the speckles. And you can do this 2 ways. First, you firmly press it down because, again, that's really smooshing the ink and it's spreading all over the card. And then you can lightly pick it up, and that is when you're picking up all the little speckles. You can totally do ink smooshing with this media mat, without it. The media mat just helps with those little speckles, and it's just another fun way to do this technique. You could use a glass media mat. You can use like a acetate sheet, a plastic sheet, a plastic bag. I've seen people use like saran wrap. If you have like an old Ziploc bag lying around, you can do that as well. But this is how I like to do it. And really, I try the other ways as well, but this is how I did it in this project. So you see that now I'm lightly pressing my paper down on the mat to pick up the tiny little speckles. So I really liked the salvage patina popping through, but it's not enough. So I'll just grab some distress oxide. I could have totally used distressed ink too, but I wanted a specific effect after I ink blended it, and I wanted it to look cohesive. After I ink blend the salvage patina, I tried shaking some droplets onto it. It really wasn't targeting the areas that I ink blended, so I grabbed my wet paintbrush and I splattered it that way. And you can really see the oxide react, and then it starts looking like it was a part of the background the entire juice. Once you have splattered those areas, you can either lift up the ink or you can let it dry, but it is 2 different results. So you might want to experiment and see what you like most. So for the number 2 technique that I absolutely love using in my craft room is splattering. And I can splatter with basically anything. Here you saw me splatter with water to activate the distress ink and distress oxide. Here I'm going to splatter with the same colors that I used to create my background. This gives the background some more depth and yet another layer. So I do try to go in with a plan just so that it all looks organic, and I smoosh some ink off to the side and water it down and begin to splatter. But I use, for example, festive berries to splatter on top of the smooshed festive berries that is already on the background, and the same with the other few colors. If I get some splatters on top of the other colors, it's okay, because when you are doing the smoosh technique, you know that it's all blending together. The goal is just so that it looks organic. And now the cool thing about using both Distress ink and Distress Oxide in such a background is in the difference between these two. Distress ink is translucent, and when you mix two different colors together, it will blend and you will get a different color. When you get two or more Distress Oxides, they don't want to blend with one another. It's one of the beautiful characteristics of this medium. Essentially, yes, you can blend a Distress Oxide with like a Distress ink like you saw at the beginning. But I didn't want to do any more of that to this background, and that's why I seal it. When I am happy with my background, I use micro distress glaze for two things. One, to seal the background. That way, whatever I end up doing on top of it, it will not affect it. So if I want to decide that I want to splatter some more or anything like that, it won't activate the Distress Oxide or the Distress ink. So continuing with my love for splattering, I mentioned that I like to use stencil butter. But the cool thing is that you can modify it to whatever it is you're looking for your project. You get a tiny, tiny bit and you water it down. And if you splatter it on thick, you will get dimension like I did. And it almost looks like just little, I don't know, like little bubbles, little enamel dots, almost like little blobs. Or you can water it down so much that you're splattering just colored water essentially. And when it dries, it's just like a really pretty sheen. So another addition and another thing that I like to splatter with is distress sprays, spray stains, or even this Dina Wakley's spray gloss, and you just easily take the knob off and you shake it and you splatter it. And I absolutely love how this is looking. So I set it aside to dry and I begin to work on the sentiment and the embellishments. So I have VersaFine ink, which I love. This ink stamp, so crisp, so clean. I don't stamp much, but when I do, I use VersaFine. I have this tulip, a part of a layering stamp set from Concord and Ninth. And I really like it because it's going to allow my background to be the star of the card, as opposed to the sentiment or the embellishments. When I stamp it, it's just so satisfying because it just stamps so clean. And I don't have the need to use a stamping platform because the first time it just does the job. I do the same for the sentiment, which is from a set by Hero Arts, and I fussy cut, which I don't mind. For my third and final technique that I absolutely love playing with the most in my craft room is stitching. Now, I did run this through my sewing machine for a couple of zigzags and swirls, but I've also done faux stitching and hand stitching. Not a lot of the hand stitching, but just enough to say that I have for, moments like this. So I have, but you can see in the back that there's this random like scrap piece of paper. I do it because when I tried running the paper by itself through the machine in the past, it wouldn't give. So I figured, well, it's probably because it needs to sew something to something. So then I started using tape, and it worked fine until the adhesive started to stick on the needle, and that was a big pain to clean. So now I just use like a piece of scrap paper. So let me know if that's a thing, or if there's something I'm not doing, or but that's how I do it. I grab some cherry foam tape to add the sentiments and the embellishments, and then I take the backing off of a strip so that I can manipulate it and make it go around the back of the tulip there. And I start putting the card together. I do want to take a second to let you guys know, if you don't already know, that I have, in my short time of this endeavor, rebranded. I am now Jessica Michaels Creative Designs, formerly known as The Crafty Doings. The Crafty Doings is now a space on my site where you will find blog posts for crafty deals, crafty 411s, sales and promos. You'll also find the Craft Aftermath Challenge, where I challenge you to create any sort of project using a photo of my craft aftermath. And then you will also find a section for freebies. This is under the Crafty Doings tab in my new rebranded website, jessicamichaelscraftydoings.com. I am offering a free download when you subscribe to my newsletter. So thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments section below. Have you started your Valentine's Day cards? I consider this my Valentine's Day card. Do you even send Valentine's Day cards? I do. Do you think this background is something you can totally achieve? I know you can, but let me know what you think in the comment section. As usual, the supply list for the products I used in this project are in the description box below. I appreciate when you use those links to make any purchases, as I do earn a small commission from my recommendation of those products to you. I'd be so grateful if you subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Yet another way you can help my channel grow. Thanks so much for popping in. Remember that you create because you were fearfully and wonderfully created. And don't forget that you belong, even if paper crafting isn't your thing.